What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the podcast. I'm with my buddy Austin. This channel is Jiu Jitsu, where right now we're going to be talking about a lot of Jiu Jitsu stuff. But further along, as we do more episodes, we'll probably be adding more striking conversations. We're going to be talking about the UFC, probably, comparing fighters, what we liked, what we didn't like, if we agreed with the judges and whatnot. And it'll kind of dive into some different topics as we go down. So, like I said, I got Austin with me, and we're both blue belts. I got 2 stripes, and he doesn't have stripes right now, but
fresh into the blue belt game.
Yeah. And so one of the reasons we decided to start this whole thing was because, with us being at what I consider a very beginner stage in the journey of jiu-jitsu, they say the average is 8 to 13 years. As y'all see the episodes come out and you see our progress, hopefully you're progressing as well, and you can take something away from what we're talking about. And if there's anything that we can help y'all learn that we're learning, that's ideally what we want, and we want to create this content for y'all. So Austin, thank you for helping me do this one.
My pleasure, man. I love talking anything martial arts, and jiu-jitsu is really kind of taken over, so any chance I get to talk about it, I'm down for it.
For sure.
Making those appearances in the videos, being the little choke dummy. There is a voice behind that guy now, so
hey, you gotta throw the content out there,
Hey,
so
we're doing it. However we do it, I'm happy to be a part of it. So, jiu-jitsu is a story, right? And every journey is a story, and this is
our journey.
Yeah, we're displaying our story, and you guys at home, y'all are gonna listen, and you have your own story, and you'll find your way to tell it, and you make your own little paths on it. So
exactly. And so, just to piggyback on what he's saying, today's topic of the podcast is our first year in jiu-jitsu. And so I'm coming up on year 3, but I still remember back to my first year in jiu-jitsu, and I just remember if somebody would have been there to kind of sit me down and tell me a couple things, I think it would have made my journey a whole lot better. So and everybody's journey is going to be different. My journey is different from Austin's. Austin's going to be different from the next person. You're going to find your own strengths and weaknesses. You're going to find out what just clicks with you the minute you see a technique, and you're going to see a technique for the 1,000th time, and it's still not going to make sense to you, and that's okay, and that's what we're here to figure out. But so Austin, let's get started with you for your first year in jiu-jitsu. I guess when you walked in, what did you expect walking in? Can you describe what your emotions were and what you were thinking?
Yeah, so I'm going on my second year right now, and I actually should be coming up on my second year here in the next few months. But I can remember first day, I was at home trying to figure out, what do I wear? I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to expect, right? The extent of my martial arts knowledge was watching UFC on TV, and those guys show up in shorts, no shirt, and chiseled. I don't have any of that going for me. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know what to expect, right?
Right.
I was actually texting your sister and was like, what do I wear? What do I do? I'm just terrified.
Right, yeah.
And we had planned this the night before, and so the night before I was excited, but I was scared. I was nervous.
It's new,
Yeah. I was trying to figure out anything and everything. So y'all kind of gave me the rundown, hey, just show up in some flip flops, and we'll get you everything else. Okay. Trying to get fitted for a gi. That was a process. I've never worn a gi. I'd never touched one in real life. Like I said, you see it on TV, you see it in movies, and that was new to me. So putting that on, when I finally got it put on, and y'all tied my belt, because I didn't know how to do it.
Nobody ever does.
Yeah.
Their first day.
You want to know something? Uh-huh. The first 3 months, every day before I went to the gym, before I walked in that door, I sat out in my car. I showed up 10 minutes early.
You pulled up YouTube videos, didn't you?
Every day. The same video every day for 3 months, until one day I was like, I'm going to try it without the video. It didn't work. I got made fun of. Professor laughed at me. He's like, if you want to learn to fight, you got to learn to tie your belt. Well, Yeah, touche, Professor, touche. But it came in. I was excited because I'd been talking about doing it for years, and I finally took that
Finally
step.
got in
Yeah,
there. Yep.
finally took that step and grew the cojones and stepped in. And
it's a scary step to take. I mean, you got to think the most important belt you're ever going to get is your white belt, because you're deciding to step off the couch or whatever you're deciding to do. If you have a busy work schedule, whatever, you're now dedicating time towards whether it be fitness, what you want, if you want the black belt status, or if you just like being able to defend yourself in the street, like you're taking that next step. So,
and that was I finally took that step, and as soon as I was in there, I fell in love because I love the fight game, right? I love it so much as a spectator, and having never done it, I finally was like, you know what, I'm taking that big boy step. And so first day in there, right, I don't even remember the technique. There's no way I could remember that technique. I remember rolling with you for the first time I'd ever rolled with anybody, ever. And I was like, nothing's working. I'm sweating. I can't breathe. I look up at the clock, and we've been at it for 30 seconds. And I was like, maybe this isn't for me. In my mind, I was like, man, I watch enough of it. I'm just going to get out on the mat, and I'm going to be a savant.
And it's going to come to you.
Yeah,
right?
and everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing.
Let's just give him his black belt.
This guy's the next Hoist Gracie. Where did you find this kid, right? And then 30 seconds in, I'm sweating. I can't breathe. I've been tapped out 3 times. All right, maybe the sport isn't for me, but it's a learning game, right? And you're always learning. And at the end of that class, I had already felt comfortable in the fact that to say that I had learned something new. And then, I just kind of came back later that day, and we were rolling again. And I was like, all right, what am I going to learn now? And learn something new. And in 2 classes, in 1 day, I'd learned a new technique, 2 new techniques. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is going to be for me. So day 1 was a lot of sweating, a lot of, this is going to hurt tomorrow, but a lot of learning. I learned a little bit of etiquette. I didn't realize that you bow in, everything that you do. Everyone's kind of bowing in, shaking hands, doing that clap and shake. Yep. No one's grabbing hands. We're all grabbing forearms and wrists.
Yep. I don't know why that's a thing. It's just
I don't either, but you do it.
It's funny because some people I'll end up grabbing their forearms, and then some people it just happens where I grab their hand. And there's no rhyme or reason to it.
It's just what you reach for.
Yeah.
And then before the roll, you got that clap and why we do it, I don't know. But
have you noticed some people they'll do this? No.
Oh.
Do the hand and they'll go like that, and they'll expect you to if you roll with some other people, and then one person will go like that, and the other person will just. It just seems weird.
So guys, that was all visual. We were doing fist to palm, palm to palm. Yeah.
So I guess first year in jiu-jitsu, I guess this is a good talking point right now. For I guess whenever you're starting to spar, if your school allows you to start sparring day 1, because not all schools do.
Yeah.
Some schools will, like our school has adopted now. They typically want you to wait a couple classes to watch people roll, watch people move, because I think they've noticed that lessens the chances of injuries, which ideally is what we want. We want our training partners to stay healthy and keep coming to training. If they're not there, we're not getting better either.
Yeah, we don't hurt our friends. We don't want to hurt our friends.
And so, if Austin and I were squaring up right now, I guess one of the first things to do to start the match is you kind of mid high five, and then you kind of slide it through, and then you form a fist, and then you just fist bump, and that basically starts the round. And so that it's just kind of an unsaid rule of okay, hey, we're starting now, kind of thing.
Yeah, so day 1, whenever we got started, you reached out to do it, and I was like,
what is he doing?
Slapped your hand.
Get away from me.
Get that out of here. I didn't know what it was. And you learn that etiquette real quick. The bowing in on the mat. I watched everybody do it, and I'm sitting there like, well, why are we okay? So I just kind of bowed in. Nobody was looking, and I just did it real quick so no one made fun of me. But
and nobody's gonna make fun of you either.
That's something you learn as well. I walked in first day oh man, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's clearly I'm the new guy, and someone's gonna crack a joke at me. I'm not gonna know how to do the warm up. Someone's gonna laugh at something, right? And that's what I was worried about. But jiu-jitsu is just it's a family. You step on the mats, you put a belt on, you step into that community, and that's not a community of making fun of somebody for trying something new. The fact that you got people's respect by stepping on that mat. That's a lot of things that's something a lot of people won't do. So I didn't realize that, right? And that's something I'm afraid of. That's why everyone's kind of afraid to start something new, right? It's nobody wants to get made fun of. No one wants to look goofy. I want to stick to what I'm comfortable. And that's what I was worried about. Day one, man, it checked every box for me. No one made fun of me. No one, no one laughed at me. Everyone was there to help. And you really feel that family and that community day one. So,
yeah, for sure.
And that's big for me. So it was a very pleasant surprise, day one. And then as we start to go on, you start to get your little tweaks, your little injuries. You're working with somebody, and you start to see techniques come together, and that light bulb hits. And that first time that light bulb hits, man, it's chasing the dragon.
It's addicting because you keep wanting to find more and more techniques that will create that light bulb, and you're like, oh man, this finally makes sense because I can chain it to this, and it'll get me here, which is the position I ideally want. And yeah, I completely get what you're saying. But
yeah, what's great is they teach you a technique, right? And you're like, oh, cool, yeah. And you try it, and you're drilling it, and you're like, oh, it works in drill. And then you try it in a roll, and it doesn't work.
And it never works the first time.
Yeah, it never does. And then you'll forget about it, and then one day it just kind of pops in your head, and you're like, well, let's try it. Oh my God, it worked.
There's like that window of rolling where you're rolling, and you're like, oh, here's a window. Oh, I remember that move from that one time. Oh, let me try. Oh, it's working. Oh, submission.
And first time a scissor sweep worked for me, I stopped in the middle of the roll, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that worked. And then I got dumped over. Don't stop in the middle of the roll. But like I celebrated. I was like, oh my God, I won. You didn't win.
You start looking for the second light bulb and the third light bulb because if they're going to try to dump you, like, if that arm's getting extended, you're looking for that arm now. And it's exciting, man. It's extremely, extremely humbling because I'm sure, like, whenever I first started out, I'm sure I spazzed way more than I should have.
You know what? On that topic, day one, if you right now had the opportunity to tell yourself day one coming to step on the mats, any piece of advice, anything, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I don't think I breathed like any of the rounds that I first rolled on the first day.
Held your breath for 6 minutes?
I held my breath, and I didn't know how to control my breathing. And so, 30, 40 seconds in, I'm like, man, I am gassed already. And they do 4, 5, 6 rounds of this, and each one's 5 minutes long. And I don't know how people do this. And it almost kind of seemed like, man, maybe I had the same thought. I was like, man, maybe this isn't for me. Like, this is hard, but it was challenging, and so I enjoy that aspect of it, and nobody likes being the beginner at something, but it was just challenging, and so I would just tell myself, if like I could tell myself walking in to a jiu-jitsu gym now, like, just to breathe, like be cautious of your breathing, and if you're rolling with people, slow down, like think about what you're gonna do before you do it. Because a lot of people come in, and when you roll with new people, it makes sense. It's a scary thing to step on the mat and understand that you're going to be standing against somebody who's going to try to take you down. They're going to try to choke you. Yeah. And there's stories of people going unconscious from the chokes or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a contact sport. You catch an elbow here and there, and it's a little scary.
Yeah, for sure.
And that fight or flight instinct kicks in, and you start jerking a little bit, and maybe your first year, that's where all the beginning injuries start to happen. But
absolutely.
But from there, you realize you can start to slow down. You're starting to breathe, and you're starting to understand where to move and how to move and the timing of movements. And then you gradually, as you go along your journey, you see the injuries start to taper off a little bit. And now it's like, it's different injuries. Now it's like, okay, well, I know if this gets locked in tight, it's going to hurt for a little bit. It's going to be sore. So,
and even then, I think most of your injuries are going to come from a training partner maybe spazzed out on you a little bit. Maybe maybe they're a
Maybe-
little aggressive.
Maybe didn't know how to move during
Yeah.
a certain technique, and
Exactly, and I mean, accidents happen, right? It's like you said before, it's a combat sport, and that was kind of, if I was to tell myself day one, that's what I was really worried about, was injuries and looking dumb, right?
was like so like injuries, as in like you were worried about hurting other people, or you were worried about people hurting you, not purposefully in a role.
So
Or, like,
I think, day one, if I'm going to walk into the mats, I'm more worried about myself, right? I don't know anybody in there. I'm not really worried about hurting anybody because I don't know anything to hurt somebody, right?
Sure.
So I think that was a big one for me. Is day one I was scared of getting made fun of, one, and getting hurt, right? So go ahead.
No, you actually just reminded me of one of the things that I would probably tell myself also, but it's to piggyback on what you just said. That's to you always hear it in the classes, like tap early, tap often.
Yeah.
So you got to understand there's a bunch of different uncomfortable positions that you're going to be in, but eventually you're going to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But in the beginning, if anything is ever to the point where you just feel claustrophobic or you can't breathe for some reason, that's what the purpose of jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
You can always tap. You can always, find a body part on your training partner and tap them. You can always verbally say tap. Some people snap. I've seen some people snap as like the, if they can't like get their hand up and down or whatever, their hands are. I've seen people hit their foot against the mat too.
The foot tap.
And so just realize that there's always a way to get out of something uncomfortable, and there's nothing wrong with tapping, learning from it, and just hitting the reset button on that round. And just to add one more layer to that, a lot of the times when people know you're new, they're not gonna go extremely hard on you. They know you're new. They've been in those shoes before. They know the emotions that are involved. They know it's scary. They know, okay, I'm going to take it a little lighter on this person. Like, I'm going to let them work. I'm going to, let them see a couple things. But at the same time, you have to understand it's a game. It's a chess game. So they're going to end up moving their pieces strategically in a way that's going to further their jiu-jitsu round as well. So
yeah. If someone was to tell me that day one, I probably wouldn't believe them. Right?
Believe
everything that you said right there, because everything that you said is 100% true. And if somebody would have told me that and I listened, I would have walked in day one comfortable, excited. Let's do this, guys. Let's get better. But I probably wouldn't have believed him because you make it sound so beautiful, right? Like it's a learning game. It's like going to school, but you have way much more fun here, right? So I think if somebody would have told me that, I'd have been like, that just sounds too good to be true. And the thing is you walk in and that's how it is, right? That's how it is. And it's the fear of getting hurt, the fear of looking dumb, the fear of not being good at it, or whatever it may be. You tell yourself, about to be 3 years in, about to be 2 years in, right? Tell day one, hey, calm down, breathe, be patient. Don't be afraid of getting hurt, right? Because more than likely, your training partner's not going to hurt you because they know you're new. And they know how to avoid that, right? That's why most of the white belts...
They're not going to crank a submission, You're not going to go from 0 to 100 like in the blink of a second.
And that's why most of the white belts you see are rolling with blues and purples and stuff. The people that know how to control that, right? Until you get to the point, and that's what... When they let me roll, my first month, I was only rolling with either 4-stripe whites, blues, or purples.
Yeah. 4-stripe whites, like about to get their blues, blues,
exactly.
purples.
And those people they allowed me to roll with because those people know how to control, right? They know how to control me to where I'm not going to hurt myself or them. And you don't realize that the people take those precautions going into day one, right? Nobody tells you that stuff. So
it puts the upper belts in a leadership role too, because you're almost acting like under the black belt to try to roll with them in a way that's like, okay, hey, like I'm gonna try to give this person a valuable role, but at the same time, like I have to make sure that like, they're not finding underhook whenever I should be underhooking or whatever like that. So tap early and tap often.
So would that be your best piece of advice to somebody who, let's say somebody listening to this right now is toying with the idea of going out
walking
and
into
going
it.
and doing their first class, right? Let's say right now, you are giving the advice to somebody that's about to go on the mat for their first time. Number one, you can only give one piece of advice. What is number one?
Man, that's tough because there's so many different.
There's so many things you want to tell
Like-
somebody.
Like, I want to say etiquette, but then like you kind of learn that as you go on. Every school's gonna be different.
Yeah, every gym's different etiquette.
Tap early, tap often. I mean, and then there's part of me that wants to always talk about warm-ups and like kind of just focusing on the warm-ups. I think at least a little bit of a fundamental idea of what the movements are going to be like. So, if there's YouTube videos out there that talk about like the warm-ups and what the basic movements are, and you know what? I think I got my piece of advice. I would say,
Lay it on me.
for somebody walking in tomorrow or tonight for the first time ever, I would just say, don't get overwhelmed,
That's a good one.
because I think that encompasses everything. Don't get overwhelmed with the warm-up. You will learn the warm-up. You will learn how to do it in a fluid motion. You're not going to be good at it first. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
Don't be overwhelmed with when somebody's choking you. Just tap. And that's it. Don't be overwhelmed with, the etiquette. You're not going to know all the basic things first. Just keep along with it. Just get back on the horse and just keep riding. So I think for me that's...
Don't get overwhelmed. That's good. I like that a lot, actually. Like you said, it encompasses a lot. I think if I was to have to give it to somebody, I'd probably have to go much simpler. And I would calm down. Just
calm down.
calm down there, buddy. You are not in a fight, okay? You are not fighting for your life. I am not trying to take your life from you. Do not fight like I am trying to do so. Calm down, relax, breathe, and let's work. You're here to get better. I'm here to get better. I'm here to help you get better. You're here to help me get better, right? This is a give and take relationship. Whenever we get on the mats, we clap in, right? We're ready to go. So calm down. Realize that that's what we're here to do. We're not here to kill each other. You are not, in our 6-minute roll, going to win the UFC heavyweight championship of the world, okay? So
I mean, maybe.
Well,
Nah, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I ain't seen a belt in there yet. But calm down, breathe, work. Think about what's next. Think about what's next. The next move. What works best. What feels right.
I think that's a good answer.
Just calm down. Just calm down. Don't spaz out on me.
Because if I would have had somebody come in and say like, hey, just before you get out there, just remember to calm yourself. Like I think in the back of my mind it would have stuck, and I would have maybe rolled a bit differently.
Yeah, and just remember to stay calm, because it's all great talk beforehand, but when you got a dude sitting on your chest trying to pull an arm out because he wants to put your elbow to the sky and your wrist through the mat, you're gonna freak out a little
Well,
bit.
and not only that, but like a lot of the times you're not rolling with somebody who's going to be the same size as you or the same background as you. You're going to be rolling against people who are bigger. If you're a female, you're going to be rolling against dudes who are bigger, and if you're both dudes or both females, like there's going to be more athletic people and less athletic people. Like there's going to be different makeups of people that you roll with. So I think that's part of the journey as well, is figuring out how to roll with certain people, figuring out how to do it safely, and then you get to a point where you can actually start rolling with people and matching their intensity so that both of y'all are getting something out of the roll, and it becomes something beneficial to both people. Because I know a lot of people come in sometimes and they don't want to roll with upper belts because they're like, oh well, no, like you can roll with somebody else if you think the reps with them would be better. And it's like, no, like there's still stuff that higher belts can work on with lower belts too.
Yeah.
And so that it all comes a time and place where you learn those intricacies along your journey, and we're still learning those today. So.
Yeah, for sure. So, let's kind of roll into the next one right here. This is an episode, our first episode, right? First podcast talking about first year of jiu-jitsu. Let's talk about another first, right? Because I know your story is a little bit different than mine. Your stripes, right? Your first stripe. What that felt like. What did it do for you, for your game, for your mindset? That first stripe, when they called you up, they wrapped it around that belt. You kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm kind of smirking right now because I remember the first day I got my stripe. I felt like a badass, and it feels good. It feels good to know that what you're training on and what you're attempting to work on and get better at, that you're actually progressing. And I think that's an important part of the belt system and having stripes. Some gyms don't necessarily do stripes past blue belt. They'll do white belts, and then they'll do 4 stripes up to blue, and then from there they don't do stripes in between to track your progress. Some gyms do. So for me, having my white belt, I took a very, very simplistic approach to jiu-jitsu starting out. I said, you know what, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to be a sponge, I'm going to try my best to not hurt anybody, I'm going to try to learn all I can, I'm going to try to attack when I can, defend, learn how to move. I'm just going to be humble, and I'm going to tap when I need to. And so with that simplistic approach, I told myself I just keep coming in and checking that box of, hey, I came in, learned, came in, learned, came in, learned. And one day I'm either gonna be told that I'm doing something wrong and I need to focus on these areas, or they're gonna see that I'm getting better, I'm learning something, and my journey is beginning to take off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while, and I think there was. And then so after my first stripe, I was a one stripe for a very, very long time, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's you in your situation, I hope you understand that you will make that progress. Sometimes you don't need to. The progress isn't always as linear as you might think it is. It's like every 3.6 months I will get one stripe. It's not always like that. Sometimes you get one stripe 2 months in, you get your second stripe 7 months in, and and injuries play a part in that too. And if instructor sees that you're doing well, and I know some schools do like belt testing, that you have to know this, and you can't make X or so mistakes, and so our gym isn't quite like that, and I'm glad our system is the way it is. But what ended up happening for my career is towards the end of that first year and a half of me being a white belt, I ended up getting my 3 stripes all along the same day, because I guess they saw and this is just my guess, I could be off with this. My guess is that they saw that certain people were at different levels than they should have been, or maybe they were overlooking some people, and so I think they began to look inward and say, okay, let's analyze who's actually at what level and where they actually need to be. So I think they did a little bit of a corrective measure in what happened. So there was, in that time period, a lot of people got stripes up to where they should have been, and a lot of people got kind of put in these groupings. You kind of get put in groupings, and so like sometimes whenever you're progressing, you'll see somebody get a stripe and who kind of started the same time as you, and they're kind of the same belt level and same stripe, and you see that generally like you kind of stick together as long as you're learning the techniques and no injuries are happening, and so that's kind of my story and some of the frustrations I had. But looking back, I mean, I'm glad I stuck with it, and I hope if that's anybody's situation out there, that you just understand that's going to happen, and you just need to push through it, and you will get past it. So Austin, let's dive into your first year of stripes.
So
talk me through that.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but I was actually working nights whenever I really kind of started to get started with jiu-jitsu. I was working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. working in the jail.
I do remember that.
Yeah, so I was only able to come in on my days off, and sometimes that was only once a week, maybe twice a week. So I was coming in as much as I could, but it just wasn't very much. So I think I went before my first stripe. I think about 5 months, maybe a little less, maybe about 4 months, something like that. But it got to the point where I was like, hey, this guy came in after me, and he's already gotten a stripe. So I actually convinced myself that I wasn't coming to class enough to be considered a student that would promote. And so I was like,
I think it's a very humble approach for you to take, because
that's just what I thought it was. I thought there was different levels of students. You got the students that come in that are there to promote, they're there to learn, they want to earn their belts, and then there's people like me that come in just when they can, and they're here to learn what they can, get a little bit better at a workout, and just kind of just they're there, but they're not there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what I thought. And then they, we all lined up to bow out, and the professor had started talking about, it's time for this guy to get a stripe, yada yada yada. And I'm looking around the room like, okay, well, which one of you guys is it? Congrats to you guys. And he called my name, and I was like, is there another one of us in here? Hold on. And I walked up, and when he put it on, I was like, oh, I'm in this. Like, oh, we out here now. Like, I'm learning. Like, I'm okay.
It becomes a little real at that point.
He hit me in the face with a big old reality check, and I was like, oh, all right. I am training jiu-jitsu. I am here to learn jiu-jitsu. I'm not just here for the workout. And they finally recognized it, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So got that first stripe.
Very exciting.
Oh, dude, I walked out of there like I was king dingling, right? And I was like, man, I am it. And it actually, that first stripe, I don't know, it did something. Like, I was like, I'm better than these guys that are no stripe. Not better, but like, I should know more, right? So instead of being the guy that is always just submissive and here, just take the position, here, just tap me out, here, just do this, because that's what's supposed to happen in my mind, is like, hey, I'm training jiu-jitsu. I should also be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So
you understand at a certain point, like, you have a game that you're working on too. You need to work on what you need to be working on too.
Yeah, and it honestly, it leveled me up. For lack of a better word, it was like, hey, here's that level up, right? And then, so I had that first stripe, and I was itching.
So let me ask you this real quick. So when you got that first stripe, did you, because you talked a little bit about like leveling up.
Yeah.
Did you kind of get put in the mindset of now, because I know I got caught with this a little bit too. Did you get put in the mindset of now these white belts who don't have a stripe, now I can't tap to them?
Yeah.
Now I got to be tapping them.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I should not be losing to the guys that are just coming in, right? And then those guys may have came in the same time I did. There was literally no reason for me to think that, but just that ego kind of hits, right?
Yeah,
and you're definitely supposed to check your ego at the door, but we're dudes. We get it. There's gonna be, and it's a competition. Like, it's not, but it is. So there's still gonna be that.
It's a nice way of kind of comparing yourself to other people without actually, like. And I say that, and I hope y'all take it lightly, because you should never compare yourself to anybody. Injuries happen. People train. People don't train. People have family issues that come up. People have different body types. People learn at different rates. People might have different athleticism. So different things occur. So don't ever compare yourself to other people. Always try to compare yourself to yourself the day before.
Exactly.
So.
And that's something you learn right? Because how many times have we, since we've been promoted to a blue belt, how many times have we rolled with someone who's a white belt that still will catch us in something, right? If you look at two people standing there and you see one person wearing a blue and one person wearing a white, you're gonna be like, well, the guy in the blue belt is supposed to win every time. And that's you making the mistake of comparing, right? Judging the book by its cover. But you never know, right? You never know. But in my mind,
sure, big old white belt, 300-pound bodybuilder comes in, and he knows that one submission, and it's like, man, if he gets this, he's
Americana.
Yep, that's what I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards. I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, you get those, and sometimes you just get caught in it.
Every
So
dog has its day. Some days you're the dog, some days you're the hydrant, right? But so I got that first stripe, and I was like, I'm in this. Here we go. That's kind of what felt like my journey got started. And then I went a couple more months, and I was like, okay, I should be due for my second one. And then I didn't get my second one. I was like, okay, like, what's going on here? I actually was able to come to class a little bit more regularly, kind of found that schedule to make it work. I was dead tired every time I came in, but I was still there, right?
still coming in.
Yeah, and so I went a pretty long time. It felt like it probably wasn't that long, but in my mind I was like, okay, come on now. But I finally got that second stripe, and I was like, oh, here we go, next level. And then I felt like my game elevated a little bit. Not much changed, it was just mindset, right? And jiu-jitsu, most of jiu-jitsu is mindset. And most of any sport is mindset, really. But I had felt like, okay, next level. Second stripe, I had for a really long time. Really, really long time. And I watched people that I had started with or started after me get their third stripe and their fourth stripe. And here I am still sitting at 2. Maybe they forgot about me, right? I'm just going to stand in the back and just let it go. It'll happen eventually, right? I may be the slowest person ever to make their way to the next stripe, next belt, but you know what? I'll still get there. And then, everybody got their promotion to a blue belt, and I
was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
And then everybody that started after me or started around me got promoted to a blue belt, and here I am still like with 2 stripes on my white.
Well, but I think during that time period, I think there might have been a period where they were promoting them, and then you might just not have been in those classes.
100%.
And
I mean, that's what you get when you don't go every day. You're not regular, right? You miss out on stuff. You miss out on learning techniques, transitions.
But if there's certain days and those classes are like, an hour, it's like, I get it. People can sometimes slip through and stuff.
And I managed to slip through, I think, every crack at that point. And, you watch all these guys get promoted, and I know you're smirking because, I came to you like, dude, what is going on? Am I just here now? Like, am I not involved? And then, when you got promoted to your blue belt, right, they had the big promotion ceremony. Everybody was getting promoted and stuff. And then my blue belt promotion came as a surprise. They told us to line up on the wall because we thought we were about to start drilling. And they're like, this guy's been training for a while. He's been, he's pretty due for this, kind of overdue. So let's go ahead and get him called up. And they called me up. And I was like, whoa, hold on, wait a second. I just thought I was never going to get another stripe. What happened to stripes 3 and 4? I can't jump from 2 stripes to 4 or to a blue belt, can I? But that's everybody's journey's different, like we said right at the beginning of this whole thing. So they put that blue belt on me, and he looked at the rest of the class and he was like, guys, I'm putting this on him now before we start sparring. I want y'all to
lay it into him.
Lay it into him, make him earn it. And he looked at me and he said, you take no breaks today. Great. I just got off COVID, but all right, no breaks. And man, did I get worked over that day. But
another mindset elevation, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't take any breaks, and I was tired, but it opened my eyes to I was a white belt in my mind. White belts, you get let off easy, right? You get to blue belt, you can't get let off easy. And I realized I had that extra gear, and then the gear afterwards that I wasn't allowing myself to get to because I was still telling myself I'm a white belt. This is where we go back to that mindset. You tell yourself you're a white belt. You allow yourself to do the things that people that are in their first month do.
That you think is supposed to be of what
which is what
have. Yeah.
You take those breaks. You get one roll and you're, hey, I'm a little tired. You sit out. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I didn't realize like in my first year that there was a such thing as sitting out. I thought just like every round I'm gonna be rolling with someone, and they do it a little differently now. Like now you kind of get to pick your own partners, but like
before
back then they would pick for you, and it was like, if you got paired up,
forgot about that.
They would pair you up. Because if you started going with someone and, do a little, survey of the room, professor at the time, he would say, actually, you know what? Y'all two split up. I want you going with him. and he would move things around. And so, you know, some schools operate like that, where you roll with certain people, and some certain schools like ours, like you just kind of roll with whoever.
You look up, and whoever's open, you may look up and there's a brown belt. All right, I'm gonna lose a lot.
And that's part of building the rapport, and you're going to start developing your own game, and you know, it's I have different games for different body types of people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't play the same game on you as I do a dude who's 300 pounds. Like, I have a very different game. I know I got to stay tighter, and I know I got to find the gaps that I thought were tighter against like smaller dudes. I know they're going to be bigger gaps now, because they can't close them as easy. So,
but it's the strength and the weight thing.
Yeah,
man, nothing harder than a big dude that knows he's a big dude and knows how to use that weight. But that's the mindset, right? I think this is always going back to mindset, which we're all the way right back to the beginning of, if you can give yourself advice, it was, you know, don't get overwhelmed and calm down. Both of those are mindsets. But
so let me just touch on maybe like one more topic, and then we'll wrap this up. I think we've been giving y'all a lot of good information, hopefully. So whenever I've heard of people getting their belts, I've heard of two different schools of thought, and I could be way off on this, but let me know if one of these hit you. I've heard there's people who just go and they hit a plateau at a certain point, and it's not until their game gets elevated until they get that belt. Or you have those people who their game kind of goes up, and then they get the formality of, okay, here's the belt.
yeah.
So I don't know if I explained that correctly, but it's like,
No, I get what you're saying.
some people hit that plateau.
Your belt either elevates your game, or your game elevates and the belt has to catch up to you, right? You're a white belt rolling at the blue belt mindset, right? You're competing as if you're a blue belt. You're that good on the mat, right? Or are you a blue belt that you're a blue belt by time, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so
And
like,
I feel like we're doing not the best job of explaining
yeah,
it.
so it's hard. So I've seen some people, and I know one person in particular. I'm not gonna say the name, but he would roll, and he was a white belt 4-stripe. He would roll, and it just seemed like he was at a plateau, right? And this gentleman, you know, as soon as he got his blue, now when I'm rolling with him, dude's game got elevated quite a bit. And I was like, okay, that's what he needed. That's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
I know there's certain people like that, and then there's people who maybe are rolling at a blue belt level already, and they just don't have the time yet.
Yeah.
Or they haven't
don't
made
have
it to
that
the
time on
classes.
mat.
Maybe they picked it up really, really quickly, and they just got to let the belt catch up to where they're there. So I guess that's a little bit of a better explanation. So having said that, does any of those schools of thought resonate with you?
Yeah, so I think it was, for me, getting that belt or getting that stripe is what made me compete at that level, or made me not compete, because I haven't competed, but you get what I'm saying, right? Had me working at that level. It just, that next stripe in my mind, I'm a 2-stripe. I should be competing like a 2-stripe, right? That means I have some time on the mat. I have techniques. And then that blue belt, as soon as that blue belt hit, in my mind, I've watched blue belts roll 1,000 times, right? I've seen thousands of blue belts roll 1,000 times. So I should have an idea of what a blue belt rolling looks like. So in my mind, you put that belt on me, now I know I have to compete like a blue belt. I know
there's a target on your back.
exactly
now. Yep.
that cardio game. I got to figure it out real quick. The techniques that I wasn't using as a white belt, that I put in the back of my mind, that I was like, never gonna use.
Now you got to bring them out.
Now it's like, oh, hey, now it's time to do it. For example, the Baron-Bowler roll, right? You learn it. You may see it as a white belt.
I remember seeing it, and I was like, that's advanced. I ain't using that for a while.
I saw it. I used it one time. It worked, and I was like, oh my God, that was amazing. I tried it as a white belt. I tried to use it a second time. Got shut down. And I ended up losing very badly because of it. And I was like, you know what? Okay. Probably a little too advanced. Probably shouldn't try that again. get to that blue belt, and I was like, hey, you remember that Berimbolo roll?
Let's bring it out.
Let's try it one more time. So yeah, for me it was that.
And you've been hitting it. Like you've hit it on me a bunch of times. I've watched you roll with other people. You hit it like
it's something I now look for.
It's clicking now. Huh?
Yeah, it's something I look for, right? A technique I learned as a white belt that I was like, nah, never gonna use it, too advanced. Then you get to that advanced stage, and you're like, well, I guess now it's time to use it, right? Learning, the bottom half, like the leg locks, the heel hooks, the calf slicers, the straight ankle locks. The white belt, hey, you can't do those. But we're gonna show you because one day you can. And
just the ankle locks.
Yeah, well, you get what I'm saying, but. They're like, you can't use these, but one day you'll be able to. In your mind, you're like, yeah, I'm never going to use them. And then you get to blue belt, and then someone tries to do it on you, you're like, oh, hey.
Gotta learn how to defend it now.
A wrist lock. Learn a wrist lock. Like, I can't use those. And then you get to blue belt, and someone does it, and you're like, hey, oh, these are allowed now. Now I need to know. So, for me, it was that stripe, that belt, is what elevated me. I wasn't one of those savants that was just straight out there murdering.
Well, and I think that's probably a very humble way of looking at it too. At the same time, you always have to look at where you're at and look at the next steps of what's to come. Like if I could explain it, saying it like this, like if you were to get just hypothetical, if tomorrow you walked in and they handed you your purple belt. Mm-hmm. Are you ready tomorrow to step into those purple belt shoes?
No.
And so with having that in the back of your head, you understand, if you keep coming and you keep learning, you keep trying to get better, eventually you're going to get the next belt.
Yeah.
You're going to need to step into those shoes. So are you doing the things between blue and purple so that when they hand it to you, now there's less doubts of, oh, maybe I don't deserve a purple, maybe, because I know a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's all about trying to bridge that gap and make the transition more seamless.
Yeah.
So, but I think with what you're saying, it's a very humble way of looking at it. So,
Jiu-Jitsu is a humble sport. You check that ego at the door, you get humbled on every day. I get humbled every 6 minutes when I'm on those mats. Sometimes 3 or 4 times in 6 minutes. But you know what? That's why we love it, right?
It's all part of the journey.
All part of the journey. That is why we love it.
Well, cool. That's all the topics I got for today's podcast. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
No, man. I think this.
We talked about a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot, and I think we kind of give people an eye-opening experience into, for the people that haven't started, they can now kind of have a general idea of where a guy's mindset is that has been doing it for a little bit.
And it's the first episode. We're still trying to figure this out too, and how we're gonna have the format going forward.
Yeah.
So
and you want to know something? I'm gonna tell you straight up right now. Mm-hmm. This was fun.
Mm-hmm.
This is fun.
Oh yeah.
I really like this, and hopefully, guys, gals listening, children of all ages, hopefully y'all had fun as well. I can tell you this is a good time. Just chit chatting, man, talking about the things we love.
Well, it's nice having like a topic of like, hey, like we can go off some tangents here and there, but let's always just come back to how was our first year or whatever topic is that day.
Once we start getting into the MMA and the fight game and stuff like that, oh man,
you're gonna love that.
Oh man, but I had a good time, man. This was fun.
Cool. And then also just to piggyback one more time on that as well. For future episodes, if any of y'all listening out there, if any of y'all have any questions or topics you want to hear us discuss, find us on one of the social medias in the post and reach out. Send us a message or an email or whatever platform you're viewing this on or however you found us. Like, reach out. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see differently or us do more. And so, this in theory is for all of y'all, and this is content for y'all so y'all can have going forward and hopefully learn from as well as we go through our journey. So
alrighty,
well, until next time, we'll see y'all later.
Guys.